Have you seen her since she left?
Yes, she's been here once. No, here, not her house, but we've seen her once. And when we seen her, she was just the way she'd left here. She was contrary to the earlier days. She was clean and behaved. She stopped us shouting and bawling at you when she spoke to you.
So she left in the October, that day the police came. When was it that you saw her? When was it that you met up with her again?
I'm not sure exactly, but it was within a month.
Okay, and have you heard from her again, or has that been it?
We heard her on the phone, but the police took the phones away, so she wouldn't know how to contact us.
And where did she say she was?
She was at the time. The first time that I knew her, she was in London. I told the police where she could be found in the next 6 hours. And it didn't end up.
And where has she been for the past year?
She's been in Poland, obviously London. I've got no idea how many other places she's been or go to, because she's doing a, what do you call it, a gangmaster. Do you know what that is? She has become, in spite of her difficulties, she has become a person who recruits and hires out agricultural workers.
So she has become a gangmaster, or she has become a slave to a gangmaster?
No, she is a gangmaster.
She is, right.
She's hiring people.
And did she tell you that? Did she tell you that?
We knew from people in the area that she was around, and obviously she didn't disappear and we not try to get her.
How do you feel towards Margaret? Are you worried that she's okay? Are you annoyed at her for what she's put you through?
I love her.
We're not annoyed at her at all.
What would you
Because
say
we
to her?
understand.
Since she was a wee child, we've been involved in her welfare.
We understand that she's scared of authority. Totally understand.
So if she was watching this right now, what would you say to her?
If she's involved in this other business, then I wouldn't want to know her, if that's what she's up to.
The business which you mean by being a gangmaster?
No, drugs.
Right, so she's involved, right, okay.
We wouldn't want to know her for that.
Welcome to Most Mysterious Missing. On the news clip there, you saw Edward Kearney and Avril Jones speaking about the teenager that they were carers for. She hadn't been seen since December 1999. Astonishingly, that interview was recorded around 18 years after she was last seen. Her carers, Edward Kearney and Avril Jones, would tell police that she hadn't gone missing, but that she was working as a gangmaster in either London or Poland. But police would later say that this was a concoction of lies. What's strange about this case is that even though she hadn't been seen for 18 years, nobody had reported her missing. The police didn't realise, the social services didn't realise, neighbours and friends didn't even know. Margaret Fleming was a teenager aged 19 when she went missing, and she had learning difficulties. She was last seen at a family gathering in December 1999. She was described as being a funny, caring young woman who, despite having some mild learning difficulties, just wanted to be liked and to have friends. Margaret was brought up by her father, but when he died when she was a teenager, he had opted for his friends Edward Kearney and Avril Jones to be her carers, and that's what happened. So she moved in with Edward and Avril at their home, called Seacroft, in Inverkip, Inverclyde, Scotland, UK. Seacroft had a stunning location right on the beach, but it was a ramshackle of a cottage. Some of the walls had caved in, and it was unkempt. It was said by friends and neighbours that Avril and Edward used to enjoy having friends and neighbours around to entertain, but this hadn't been the case for many years, and they started to keep themselves to themselves. It was Avril Jones that was in control of Margaret's disability benefits, and in 2016, when Avril had filled in a form asking for various benefits for Margaret, it was realised by the Benefits Department, Social Services and Police that Margaret hadn't been seen for many, many years. It was then that Scottish police decided to knock on the door at Seacroft. When police knocked on the door, Edward said that Margaret had fled out the back door as she was frightened about police coming along. The police entered the house. It was all dishevelled, and they did a search of the house, including Margaret's bedroom. The police officer at the time described Margaret's bed as having a few millimetres of dust on the top. Edward had told the police officer that Margaret had been sleeping in that bed up until that point, but the police officer was suspicious. Following that visit, many hours of CCTV around the town were looked at, but absolutely no sign of Margaret was found. Edward and Avril admitted that Margaret was a vulnerable teenager, and they said that she had been self-harming. In order to prevent that self-harm, they put poster tubes on her arms. Friends and neighbours said that when they had seen her 16 years previous, she had lost a lot of weight and her hair was cut very, very short. Police sniffer dogs concentrated on two small holes in Seacroft's garden. Eventually, a digger would come to dig up the garden. Very many small bone fragments were found, but there was no evidence to suggest at the time that these were human or animal or other. Edward and Avril produced a letter and handed it to police. They told police that this letter was sent from Margaret when she was staying in London, but it was later revealed in court that this letter was not written by Margaret, but was written by Avril or Edward as a guise. This is a view of Inverkip in Inverclyde, Scotland, and this is the town where Margaret was last seen. This is an image of Seacroft, the house where Margaret lived with Avril and Edward, her carers. Astonishingly, the cottage was in this state when police knocked on the door. Inverkip is in the west central lowlands of Scotland. The village takes its name from the River Kip and is served by Inverkip railway station. Inverkip was a hotbed of witchcraft activity for half a century from 1640 to 1690. A royal inquiry into the Inverkip witch hunts, which have been compared to those at Salem, was led by Archibald Stewart of Blackhall. During this inquiry, tragically 18-year-old Marie Lamont was tried as a witch. Marie was found guilty of witchcraft and burned at the stake. The fate of the others is not known. And a little bit more history about Inverkip village. 1849 was a disastrous year for the village. Not only did the crops fail, but 1/3 of the population died due to an outbreak of cholera. So what really happened to Margaret Fleming? Were Avril Jones and Edward Kearney telling the truth? Did she really flee to London and then Poland to begin life as a gangmaster? Well, I find this pretty incredible, as being as she was known to have learning difficulties. Was she unhappy at home? Was she being mistreated? Had she been kidnapped? Did she suffer a psychotic episode? Did she want to become lost and flee the home? Had she succumbed to the elements in a cold December? Was she injured, or was there a serial killer at loose? Well, in 2019, the pair were found guilty of murder and perverting the course of justice and were sentenced to life imprisonment with a minimum term of 14 years. Avril Jones was also convicted of fraudulently claiming £182,000 in benefits by pretending Miss Fleming was still alive. Margaret Fleming's body has never been found, despite painstaking searches of their home. During their sentencing, Judge Lord Matthews said, "Only you two know where her remains are. That remains a source of immense grief as far as her mother is concerned. It seems obvious that the motive for the murder and cover-up was financial." So even though no body has been found, nor remains, they were still tried for murder. What on earth happened to poor Margaret? Was she murdered intentionally, just for Avril and Edward to receive her benefits money? Was it an accident, and they tried to cover it up? Well, then where's her body? They lived right next to the beach. Was she dumped at sea, or was she buried in the garden? One witness described driving past their house near to the time that she went missing. He saw a large bonfire in the back of their garden with the flames going over the top of the house. He described smelling burning flesh, and he was in fact a retired fire officer. Unfortunately, the fire officer's statement was dismissed in court, and this is because when he first told police he saw the bonfire in the back of the garden, he described as smelling burning flesh, and then later on he described the smell as burning human flesh. Therefore, his witness statement was described as being inadmissible and couldn't be used. I believe the most likely scenario is that she was murdered for her benefits money. They wanted her money, but they did not want to care for her. I think she was being mistreated, considering the fact she'd lost a lot of weight, her hair was cut short, and she was self-harming, having poster tubes put on her arms. I believe there's no way she could become a gangmaster, and this was just some concocted story to try and cover up the murder. But this is just my opinion. What do you think? Please leave your comments below. May we never forget the strange and mysterious disappearance of Margaret Fleming.